last video, I talked about one of the best ways to start getting your app developed is work with someone you trust. The next best option is to work with someone who maybe you don't trust but is independent. I call this kids on Craigslist because I came up with this term back when Craigslist was the best way to find developers. Not really the case anymore. More experienced platforms like Upwork have come into existence. But kids on Craigslist means essentially you go out and look for an independent person. Rather than looking for an agency, you look for an individual developer. And so this developer, that might be their full-time job. It might be that they're doing nights and weekends or they're moonlighting. Usually the situation is somewhat flexible and it's somewhat immature, and that's why I call it kids on Craigslist. The pros of this is it's typically cost effective to go direct. Just like anything else, if you can go direct and find a developer who you really like and there's no project management overhead, there's no agency overhead, you're going to save money there. One issue, if they're not a full-time freelancer, is you'll have the same commitment issue that I talked about in the previous video, where maybe they do this on the side, but if their main obligations in life, their family, their full-time job, happen to have issues, then they're going to put your project on the back burner. And I've had this even at Shrine, where I've tried to hire subcontractors who were very good, but it wasn't their main gig. They just didn't respect it. And so that's a major issue. You know, if this is really an idea you want to pursue, make sure you respect yourself and your idea and get people who are equally committed. But again, there is a good chance you can find sort of a diamond in the rough, and this can be a great way to go. And I definitely recommend taking a look at this. Now, in terms of cons, it typically is harder to reference check these people, especially if they're coming from Craigslist or like a friend of a friend intro, but you're not quite sure on the work they've done. So make sure you try to fact check their work. And if you can't fact check their ability to launch the app directly, fact check them as like someone who's worked with them, as a coworker. Just make sure there's someone who can follow up and handle their responsibilities. One part about this that isn't obvious to either probably you or the person developing it is that it's really hard for any single person to develop an app. It takes 1,000 hours to develop one. Run the numbers. If they're putting in 20 hours a week, it's just not going to work out. Even if they're putting in 40 hours a week, with life's obligations and other projects coming up, it could be 6 months before they can launch this. And so make sure you have that built into your timelines. And then lastly, I would say there's going to be more of an issue with quality. As far as it's just harder to fact check these people. A lot of times they are going to say, oh yeah, it's easy and I can get this done, no problem. And then you have problems, and if you don't trust them because they're not a trusted friend, things can go sideways quickly. So in order to make this work, I think number one, it's really important to keep a reality on the situation and not just hear what you want to hear. So if you find out, or if a developer finds out that your budget is $7,500 and that's the exact price they give you, then you might want to fact check that and get multiple quotes and just find out that you're not just getting someone who wants to treat your project as just sort of like a cool little thing they work on and not take it seriously. Or if it is going to be that way, make sure it's handled in the compensation. And just like before, I would have multiple paths forward. If this person's it's not their full-time job, make sure you have contingency. So if it starts to go south, that you can move on with your idea and you don't have to burn the bridge. So anyways, hope this helps. And if it did, please like, comment, share, or subscribe. Next, we'll talk about agencies.